Hello and good evening to AMX Global Season 5, where we are coming to you with AMX-5 Race 5. This is week 2 at Monza with the MX-5 Cup cars, but we'll get more into that in just a little bit. Now, for the first time this season here, coming to you live. Hi, my name is Damon and I'll be your broadcaster for tonight. First time this season, and making his AMX debut today is Jack Crossley right next to me. Say hi then.
Hi Damon. Hello everybody. It is good to be here. I am absolutely well excited to be here for my debut at AMX tonight. I'll tell you something, even more looking forward to the challenge of a new game because I haven't commentated on anything like this. It's going to be a good fresh start for me, and hopefully it goes pretty well. Of course, with the honour of doing it here at the fabulous Monza as well, which is such an iconic track and a great track to start my commentary here at AMX.
Definitely, and we're glad to have you, and I can only hope that I make your first time here as comfortable as possible. But before we get over to the car and track info as well as qualifying, we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping before we go on with the show. You can see our socials down there. Of course, we can check them out later on. Here we go, housekeeping. AMX World Championship Season 5, running from May 25th last week all the way until August 18th with a season prize pool of $15,000 and some next level gear. Our race formats are as follows. We have a 20-minute qualifier before each race. Top 15 in qualifying will end up in reverse grid order for the first heat, which then takes about 20 minutes. And the results afterwards will then be shuffled around in reverse grid order again for the second heat, which takes also about 20 minutes. Driver cams are of course required for all the participants of AMX. Payout will be balances over $100 will be paid out each month to all the drivers, and contrary to Season 4, our race days this season are only on Saturday and Sunday. You can sign up to race anytime at amxrace.com, and your participation will be extremely supportive and it'll be fun to watch. Our schedules are of course going with Greenwich Mean Time GMT, where we'll have AMX 0 and AMX 20 every other week. So it'll be this week where we have AMX 0 and AMX 20 on Sunday. But other than that, we'll have AMX 5 on Saturdays and Sundays starting from 5:50 p.m. GMT, and then the next race will be at 7:20 p.m. GMT. Prize pool is as follows. Top first in qualifying will end up walking away with $15, and it goes down in increments all the way until 15th place. And then the same for Heat 1, $15 all the way up to $1 for 15th place with a $2 bonus for the fastest lap. This applies to both heats. You need a minimum road I rating of 2,000. So if you want to take part, you got to bump that rating up. And here is the current leaderboards for AMX 5. We have a very historic racer here in AMX, Gal Valero, in first place. Race 4, hasn't won a race yet, but his purse is looking mighty full right now. We've got Toby Soriano close behind him, Dino Felipa in third place, Jackson Rezende, Bruno Do Carmo, Martin Chico, Juan Blenat, Kieran Harrison, not off to a great start this time around, in 8th place with Ralph Benitez, Victor Miranda, Alberto Senao, and Gaston Kulhavi, rounding up the top 12. And this is the current promotion that we're running for AMX Season 5. If you join with the Season Pass, you save up to 40% off of each race, and you'll gain access to AMX-5 iRacing, AMX-5 ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione, as well as AMX-20. So you're not limited to just one class of racing this time around. Once you buy the Season Pass, you're allowed to go in any race you want. And I think that wraps up the housekeeping, so we're going to go over to Jack to bring you more details about the track and the cars that we'll be taking on the track tonight.
Okay then everybody, the absolute that we'll be racing at today then is the Autodromo Nazionale Monza then. And what it is, of course, situated in 1922 with a track length of 5.63 kilometers. Of course, tonight we are running the layout where we will go straight down the main straight, miss out the first chicane, and head straight into the it will be the third corner actually. So very excited for this one here in Monza. And what a beautiful track it really is. And coming up then on your screen now is the Mazda MX-5. It is small, it is nip, and it is just about the car you would want. 155 horsepower, rear wheel drive, and it has got a weight of about 892 kilograms with a sequential gearbox. And is the perfect car. It doesn't have a lot of speed, but it can catch you out. It can get right underneath you without knowing, and it is a much loved and obviously I'm not here, but it must be a much loved car around here, and I am very excited to have this here today.
Alright, thank you very much for that info dump, Jack. We'll be looking forward to seeing how these drivers maneuver the cars around the track this time around, as we are going straight into qualifying for this one. So here we are on track with the drivers as of right now. Oh, I'm so excited because the MX-5, first time this season for me and for you, it's going to be a slobber knocker. It always is. And right now, you can see on the live timing boards, we've got a pretty packed grid right now. Jackson Resende currently holding the fastest lap, but these drivers have been on for a long time, and it'll be interesting to see whether or not these drivers are going to be able to contend with each other. Because contrary to what it was the previous season, we had the MX-5 and AMX-10 in separate classes. This time, they're all together, so we might see a bit more variance than we're normally used to. But aside from that, it's bound to be some great racing, I think. Don't you think, Jack?
I mean, yeah, here in Monza for the qualifying, like I mentioned, the Mazda MX-5, and you can see these cars, they're so little, they're so nippy, but going around this track, they look like little toy cars. Going around here, they really do, but they are so fun to watch, and you can get so much amusement out of it as well. But watching here then, in qualifying, I'm sure me and Damon will have a lovely time watching these as that car goes a little bit wide there on the exit.
Yeah, definitely. It's always fun to treat because with cars that aren't particularly fast, the most exciting bit is always going to be the racing itself because of how evenly balanced all the cars are. So it's all up to the driver to deliver a stellar performance for us. And you can see Jackson Resende there. Been around for quite a while as well. Also was part of AMX Season 4. Didn't have the best of finishes, but looking to make a fresh start this time around. Zevi Pla is behind him as well. Corentin Guinness in third place. New driver on the grid right now this season is Thomas Bellarmine in fourth place with Evandro Dantas, Fabio Zampolini, Pedro Dean. Again, we got a lot of Brazilians again this time around, so again, nice to see the Brazilians come back. Gal Valero hasn't really set a fast lap this time, but we know it's only just a matter of time before that happens.
Yeah, Gal Valero, I've heard a lot of good stuff about the about Gal Valero. And I've seen, I think isn't he top of the leaderboards as well in this division? Yeah, so I mean, I think that is definitely one of the ones that I've got to keep my eye on. But obviously, with me being new here, I'm just getting used to some of these drivers, and I will know the quick ones. Quickly halfway into this qualifying session, and it is the Brazilian on the timing board. So he goes into the pit lane at the minute number 7 on that car. But I've got to go back to it again. These cars are just a beauty to watch around this track. They really are. It is going to be such a good day of racing, especially on my debut. But we see the number 19 car here. Who is the number 19? Can I see on there? Did it show up? Yes, it is. It is. Is it Guinness? I'm going to pronounce it. Who is... Yep. I think on a lap here with the number 33 behind. I mean, the chicane, like I mentioned, so nippy and nearly 2 wheels going through that corner as well. struggling to keep it in a straight line, but I mean, these cars never fail to deliver.
Yeah, definitely. We've seen them go around a couple of times already, and here it is, the driver spotlight for Gael Valero, one of the fastest drivers we've had at AMX over the course of the last season, looking to make his mark again this season as well. We'll have to wait and see whether or not he'll be able to perform. But I want to bring some attention to some of the other names on the board that we've already seen a couple of times as well. We have Diego Villarreal there, crowd favorite actually from Uruguay. That we see comments talk about him all the time, giving him massive amounts of support. The rest of the drivers on the grid as well have also been veterans, with the exception of Bellarmine over there, who is, I believe, this is the first time on the this season taking part. It'd be interesting to see, because right now I have this image in my head about the drivers that are going to be the fastest around here, and it's up to these drivers then to shake the image, to break the image, and surprise me, basically.
Yeah, definitely. Well, another shot on the screen, it is Corentin Guinness then, with simracing A3, the French driver just there. Is he a good one around here?
Yeah, he's probably one of the good ones. I think most of the French drivers are actually pretty good around here as well.
Yeah.
No discredit to the other nationalities as well. All the drivers here are going to be plenty fast, but spotlights usually end up on the Spanish, the French, the Argentinians, and some of the Brazilians.
Yeah, I'm looking at this at the moment, and I mean, from what I'm used to, this is very different, because I'm looking at the nationalities. It is very diverse here, which is lovely to see. There's a lot of different cultures, nationalities, everybody from everywhere racing here, which is absolutely lovely to see. And at the moment, a Brazilian on timing boards. Another driver spotlight is Jackson Brasende then for Texaco Esports by TK, age 27, and another Brazilian who, like I just mentioned, actually is on the top of the timing boards then, with 2 minutes and seconds at the moment. Timing starts from 2 minutes, 2 seconds and 5, so a very close grid.
Yeah, and Jackson Resende, another driver I need to highlight from last season as well. He can be extremely fast in qualifying, but for experience, he hasn't really been able to deliver as such during the actual race itself. Usually external factors end up putting him in a disadvantageous position. Sorry, that was the wrong English there. But regardless, it'll be great to see whether or not he'll be able to make it up this time around. And we've mentioned this a couple of times as well, but fresh start is always really good. We had about a month off between AMX seasons. Everyone's coming to reset. Some of them probably reset by taking part in other tournaments, but the core focus right now is, of course, AMX and Jackson Resende. We've got about less than 6 minutes left in qualifying, still holding on to that top position on the qualifying boards right now, 202.4. Haven't yet seen any other driver that can take that position away from him, but as you said, Jack, it's a very close grid, and that leads me to believe that the race itself is going to be extremely competitive.
Yeah, I really do think, like you just mentioned, like I have mentioned, the grid is very close, which is going to close racing today. Or we put us in the commentary box, and also for you guys watching, as Carmo then to the top. It's 2 minutes 2 seconds, 2 tenths quicker then on that lap, and puts himself on the top of the timing boards with about 5 minutes left here in qualifying for AMX 5. But going back to what we were on about, I mean, yeah, from a commentator's view and also from people that are watching, it is very good to see when the racing's close. I've had my fair share that are spread apart, and it can get really boring, especially as a commentator, but this is looking like it's going to be a very for us to give our services on, really.
Yeah, I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that every AMX race that I've been a part of in the commentary box has always been a intense affair, to say the least. We've seen a lot of action going on. between all these drivers. Sometimes emotions get heated, but most of the times everyone keeps it relatively professional. And yeah, it'd be interesting to see. We're going to talk about strategy a little bit when it comes to qualifying, especially in the circumstances like this, because with a car that doesn't have as much power as these MX-5s, a lot of the ways you get a fast lap time, it all depends on the strategies that you employ. Do you clear the traffic around you, try to set a fast lap? Maybe you want to use some of the other cars on track, get a bit of a draft there in the fast sections to get enough speed to make up any differences in time throughout the rest of the lap? Or do you want to just hang back, don't try so hard during qualifying, because it guarantees that you end up in the higher starting position for the actual heat. So there's a lot at play here that we can't really decide. We can't really figure out yet. But looks like all these drivers are pretty tryharding. No, not tryharding. Tryharding is a really bad word to be used. They're trying their best.
Yeah, and flying through these corners. Chico go to second place. The Argentine then second position there. 2 minutes 2 seconds. 0.4, sorry, 2 tenths behind Carmo, splitting him and Resende up, and splitting the two Brazilians up actually, as we watch as they go round, I believe, and up towards the main straight, get a bit of a slipstream. The black green car just up ahead. This slipstream helping them a little bit there, and head up towards the straight and put a time on the board as they head over the line.
Yeah, and Josh there getting a little bit of distance.
I was just going to say, seeing that car slip, mentioned earlier, they are very nippy, very fast, and you don't actually see them coming a lot of the time.
Yeah, and honestly, it really doesn't feel like these cars are particularly fast, especially on a track that is as wide and as long as Monza in particular. We usually see them do their best in more technical tracks where speed isn't that much of a factor. So, again, we got less than 2 minutes until the end of qualifying. It looks like everything's going to be set in stone for the time being. I don't see really anyone setting any more blistering laps. If you look on the timing boards at the bottom there, the delta boards, everyone's still in the yellows, which means they're not really improving on their current best times. So until someone pulls out a miracle, it looks like this is going to be the last lap for a lot of these drivers as we come into the first heat. So Carmo there, holding on to that P1. Martin Chico, about 2 tenths behind him. Jackson Resende, about 7 thousandths of a second behind Martin Chico. He's not going to be too happy with that, because it does mean that he loses quite a bit of money for the qualifying results. But he'll be in a difficult position as well when it comes to the first heat. As you mentioned there, look at the cars. Suspension's pretty soft, but they're still enough to get this cars over on 2 wheels when they're going over the curbs.
Yeah, definitely. Qualifying, and you are completely right what you're saying. Qualifying nearly complete, and that has gone quickly. It's not been so bad. Carmo's still at the top, and like you were mentioning, between Chico and Resende is absolutely mental. I mean, if I was Resende, I would not be happy. The gap is so close. You'd be kicking yourself.
Yeah, it is quite unfortunate, but these drivers are now going to be going back to the pits because 2 minutes, less than half a minute left, and they won't have enough time to set a very fast lap unless they're near the end of their current lap. We see that Corentin Guinness still on the field there, heading over to the parabolic curve, which means he might be able to, no, it doesn't seem like he is. He's got about 10 seconds left in qualifying, and it's going to end just as they're approaching the entrance to that curve. So just like that, we have our qualifying results, and we will be showing them on screen for you in just a moment. But quick on the trigger right now, P1 there is going to be held by Bruno Carmo, with Martin Chico holding on to P2 and Jackson Resende with P3, which means they will be starting at P15, P14, and P13 respectively. Then we have Xavi Pla, but that is a very fast chair if it could win qualifying there. Yeah, so Bruno is actually not in his seat right now. Hopefully he's ready for the heat to begin.
Yeah, very, very fast chair indeed. Where did we get to on... You got to P4, didn't you?
Yeah.
We have P5, Alberto Senau. Am I pronouncing that? I'm not very good pronouncing it, but you know. Then it is P6, Corentin, with number 19, the French 10th behind P5, and it is the in 7, number 22, then Gaston Coulharvey in 8, Avandro Dantas 9, Thomas Bellamy to round off your top 10 for qualifying.
Yeah, and just like that, we're now going over to Heat 1. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen, the first race for both me and Jack here at AMX Global, AMX Season 5. Looking forward to it. Rubbing my hands in excitement. Okay, we're getting ready now. Cars are loading up on the grid as we're about to kick off race 5 of week 2 of AMX Global Season 5. Live timing boards on your screen. You can scan the QR code using your phone to get live timing for every driver on the grid right now. And they're off, coming up to the green lights. And they're off. Really bit of an anticlimactic start, but it looks like everyone got their launch off perfectly. This is going to be a long straight, missing the T1 chicane, so they're going to go all the way to Riasono, the big sweeping right-hander. Gal Valero with an early lead with Pedrodini close behind him, but Zamperlini takes away the position from him. Josh Perwin in P4 coming into turn 1. Looks like they're still keeping it neat and tidy, about 2 wide across. I think a driver just went off there. Not sure who was that. That was Martin Chico. He just went off into the runoff, losing all of his position. Ooh, a little bit of a jostle there going into the next chicane. That was Bellman, Pedrodin, Gaston Coulharvey losing some spots there. Corentin Guinness taking advantage of it. Pretty neat and tidy. The race starts so far. Looking forward to see whether or not there will be any more incidents. Gal Valero actually succeeding that position to Zamperlini in P1 right now. Dantas and Bruno Carmo trying to make their way up to the field. Bruno unable to do so at this moment in time. Martin Chico pretty much out of the running for the beginning of this heat. And Jackson Resende as well, trying to make his way up to the field, unable to do so just yet. Remember, this is a very fast course, so a lot of the overtaking will probably be done near the very slow sections, mainly the chicanes, of course, at T2, T4, as well as T5, T6 afterwards.
Yeah, definitely. What a lovely start here for him. It is the 9 then. Here for AMX-5, and it is Zamperlini then, who got a lovely start. He has got Gal Valero just right on him. And these cars very nippy. We've got to be careful as he is right just behind. We've got a big bunch of them coming behind. But just start. Wasn't too much going on. We did see somebody go off. Here we go. We've got a lovely going down now between Gal Valero. It is Zen.
Josh Perwin actually getting a little bit of a drag there from Gal Valero, able to gain another position above Zamperlini. Zamperlini, being the leader of that train right now, is unable to be in the draft, so he's going to be losing quite a bit of speed. And here comes Bellman. He's also pulling up alongside Zamperlini right now, part of that 3-car train, but coming into turn 1, have to be very careful you don't end up making any contact. Zamperlini holding onto that P3 at the moment, but Josh Perwin is still trying to make moves on to Bellman. Oh, Bellman there. Ooh, a little bit of skipping going on there from Gal Valero. Disappeared for a little bit, but he's back, and it looks like he's still holding that P1 position. Corentin Guinness is actually making his way up the field as well. Josh Perwin losing spots. He's lost 2 spots so far from that earlier tussle, and it is extremely exciting to see right now, Jack, because it's been very clean, but also very fast from these drivers right now.
It absolutely has. I mean, a few corners to go. We've got nearly pressed into them corners there, and that just shows, for one, the skill, and two, these cars and this track is as well. We are then on the backside of Zamperlini, and Zamperlini on the backside. All draining a chicane and then heading down towards the parabolic. It is Guinness on the screen, obviously with his opponent Zampellini, who are battling this out then toward Parabolica. Who will get up on who? We are watching Guinness. Can he try and slip underneath? Mentioned a few times in this stream. They head into now, and he looks to the move around the outside. He can see and move. Maybe as we head up towards the main straight, he can find a gap and get his way through and take P3.
Yeah, it looks like he won't be able to make a move just yet. We're about a third of the way through the race right now, and the most important thing about these cars in particular on a track like this is because it's so much speed that these cars have to hold. Any loss of momentum is going to be completely catastrophic for these drivers. You can see they're all really grinding nose to tail right now, trying to get as much speed in the slipstream as possible. Corrente Guinness actually all the way up to second place. Massive drive from him over the course of the last lap to make it up there from P5, P6. Valero still biding his time there, waiting to see if they'll make a mistake. And with cars that are this close together, mistakes probably are inevitable. There is a non-zero chance, but it looks like they're managing to keep it tidy so far. And the American here, of course, Thomas Bellarmine, is right out in front, holding on to that position pretty well. Actually, a really good drive from him, considering we don't really have much info about him over the course of the season. And here we go on board, picture-in-picture there of Corentin Guinness holding on to the tail of Thomas Bellarmine as they're coming into lap 3 there. This is another long straight. Ooh, you have to be really careful you don't end up bumping each other, but you can see Corentin Guinness actually giving Bellarmine a little bit of a bump draft to give as much speed as possible. And now coming into Ascari, it looks like still managing to keep it neat and tidy. And look at that snake, it just goes on all the way to the back there. Gal Valero again blinking in and out of existence, but it looks like he's fine for now. And the trouble with being in P1 is that there's always the threat of the faster cars using your slipstream to get past you. So you have to be extremely, you have to bring your A game when it comes to defensive driving.
Yeah, definitely then. To corner, and it is the American. And then in P1 and being trailed by Guinness then in that car. Is head now towards the main straight, and he's got a love train of drivers then that are following him down into. He's got a longer run down into turn 1. And look, it's train. Boom! But this is absolutely lovely. So close still. On lap 4 out of 9 then in this race, and we go into the braking lap. Like I mentioned earlier, there's too much speed. It's quite a lot harder to really get velocity in these cars. Bellarmine's not doing too bad. He's got Guinness trying to put his car aside. He's also got another car of Gal Valero just there. And look at that, Guinness then putting his car down the inside and getting through from 3. It is the Frenchman that takes the lead.
Yeah, and Zappellini tried to do the same thing as Guinness there, but didn't actually, wasn't far enough up in front to make that pass happen. He's going to have to contend with staying behind Gal Valero and Thomas Bellarmine for just a little bit longer. But holding on to this position is no mean feat, especially when these cars are so close together. Again, like I mentioned, there is a non-zero chance of maybe something big happening, but knock on wood, hope it doesn't happen this time around, because then you might end up with flared tempers and emotions going into Heat 2. So, neat and tidy from these drivers right now. Amazing racecraft, amazing discipline, and still extremely fast. Corentin Guinness there holding on to that P1 spot. But just look at how small the time difference is, the time gap between P1 all the way to P10. This is extremely scary, and these guys are going to make it past the Martin Chico there, the back marker. He's pretty much called this race. He's going to try and see if he can make a better result happen in Heat 2. But letting all the cars through right now, still very intense racing. And again, the cars don't look like they're going very fast, but in a car this small and this light, 160 Ks could feel like 250.
Again, now on to lap 9, on to the main straight here, and Guinness the lead of pack. The racecraft is out of this well. Lovely racing is Guinness trying to hold on to the lead, but this Gal Valera's car then It's not first. No, it's not. We've got behind him though, pushing him into this next corner. There's 3 of them in a train, like before, like last lap around, and this racing is lovely to watch. Yeah, and a hop behind, and so doing a spec job, doing it. Gal Valero really trying to get, on the edge so he can try and get through and lead everybody's gaps on 10 at the moment. 2 Frenchmen and Brazil that are your top 3 at the moment in this heat.
Yeah, I believe you. I think you may have got a little bit too excited there. Your mic is cutting out quite a bit. His comment has said my CD is skipping, so no slight on you there, but it is quite a bit of an unfortunate situation. But don't worry about it. I'll cover for you for the time being. As you mentioned before, Jackson Resende actually made it all the way up to P5, so great drive from him to make it from the back of the pack all the way to the top half. But we still got about 4.5 laps left to go as they're coming into Ascari, coming up to the Parabolica. Corentin Guinness and Guy Valero, the 2 Frenchmen, holding on to that lead for dear life there. We saw Zamperlini and Thomas Bellarmine almost sending it into T1, trying to make a pass happen, but again, they were not far up enough in front to make the move happen, so they're going to have to contend with staying behind them for just a little bit longer. Look at that train. It's about 9 cars long, but here we go. Jackson Resende on the inside of the Parabolica, making a move onto Thomas Bellarmine, forcing him wide a little bit, making him lose a lot of speed, but that means Bruno Carmo will also take advantage of forcing Thomas Bellarmine wide, taking over the position for him. He's going to have to try and get back into the slipstream if he wants to catch up right now. And here we go, Bruno Carmo with current fastest lap of the race. Oh, scratch that. I think Martin Chico just took that title away from him with 2:02.1. But here comes Zamperlini. He just made it past Valero as well as Guinness. He's sending it into T1 right now, holding onto the pack. Jackson Resende also making it up to P2. And all of a sudden, the Frenchmen succeed their positions to the Brazilians. And the Brazilians are running out in front as they're coming into lap 6.
Wow. This every bunched up still. This is just absolutely sensational then, as we have everybody have a big snake now. We have everybody going to press these corners, and ahead it is Zamperlini, and obviously now in second, then Jackson was third, Harvey in fourth, and Lero in by the moment. Everybody pushing each other through these corners.
Yeah, and Gaston Kohavi, another driver that we haven't really been paying attention to in this particular race, driven, of course, by Gaston Kohavi and the SART colors, making quite a sneaky drive all the way up to the top half of the pack now. But Jackson Resende taking over P3, Gal Valero actually dropping in quite a far behind, and now he's out of the train, so it means that he probably won't be able to catch up as they're coming up to, I believe this is Ascari right now. Yeah, that it is, and there's still a bit of a gap between about 7/10 spinning Gaston Kohavi's train from Gal Valero's train, so he's going to have to make some time up somewhere.
Well, as we head towards the Parabolica, it is lap 6 going on to lap 7, and like you mentioned on the screen, we can see Gaston Harvey then, who is in P4 at the Argentine, and pushing up for a higher position. 1.5 times the guy in front, which will be Jackson Resende, and we will see where he would end up then, as we have a very long run into turn 1. You can see the concentration that they have to carry. His face there, he's trailing the guy ahead of him, and he is really trying to focus as much as he can, using everything he's got then into this as they head down the first corner. He's really training. It is second place. He's took over 2 of them. Can he try and take the lead this as he is pushing on Resende? He's also keeping 2 guys behind him. Ginolini at bay. Can he, and as they go to into the 3 corners.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult there. A little bit of a slide coming in from Gaston Kohavi. Loses it a little bit on the exit. Might concede this position, but looks like he manages to keep it steady. And Jackson Resende is hot on his heels. And how many passes happened during that fast straight on the start-finish line really shows you how important momentum conservation is for these cars in particular. Because slipstream, it becomes of paramount importance, because that extra 3 or 4Ks, maybe 5 or 6Ks is enough to give you the position. And Jackson Resende, massive blow up drive from him right now, holding on to that P1. But Corentin Guinness isn't about to let him go silently into the night right now. Still trailing behind him. They're very, very close to each other. Bruno Carmo as well. Agasa Kulhavi on his own there, looking for a bit of a dive on the inside there. Hasn't been able to make it past Corentin Guinness just yet as they're coming out of Ascari right now. Still holding on to that P3 position. Bruno Carmo hot on his heels. Zamperlini as well, with Thomas Bellamy rounding up the top 6 for Pedro Dean as well. Slowly making his way out to the fan. Galvanero is just dropping positions right now. Jackson Resende, amazing drive. He just has to hold on for another 2 laps.
Yeah, it is a disaster for Galvanero, then dropping down now to the Frenchman. Can he make his way up? We have Bellerman who just overtakes Zamperlini as we head back onto the main straight now. Trying to hold that lead and everybody behind. It is a massive track and it is really right back then. It's massive as we have Kulhabi then who is trying to get through. Second it is Carmo as well who goes up to third and taking the lead. Is who just gets the Argentine. Can he try and stay ahead though into turn 1? It's 3 abreast nearly going into here. The black and light one goes off and into that's a big catching up with the back of the pack as well.
Oh, that's a disaster for Bruno Carmo there. I think he got forced off of the track by a little bit of contact going into turn 1 there. He's going to have a terrible time right now. Substantial damage to his front end. Engine damage it looks like as well, so he's going to end up in the pits, and that is a disaster, especially when you're so close to the end. All you had to do is manage to keep it calm for the rest of the race, which isn't very long left. We've got about 4 minutes left, but just like that, Bruno Carmo's heat is over. He's going to have to try and make up time in the second heat. He will be starting on pole, so no skin off his teeth, but again, it's a disappointing result for him. But for the other drivers, right now we have Jackson Resende still holding on to the front. And here we go, Bruno Carmo crashing there. Ooh, I think Gaston Kulhavi got forced off a little bit trying to block Jackson Resende and ended up forcing Bruno Carmo off. And look at that crash. It was massive. It's forced to rejoin onto the track unsafely because of the impact. But all the cars actually doing a good job of making it past him without any further incidents. So good on them. Bruno Carmo, again, unfortunate position for him, but we're going to have to talk about the drivers in front now. This is pretty much the longest that we've gone just looking at the top 3 because he keeps switching positions so many times. This is amazingly exciting, and I'm literally looking forward to seeing what goes on in the next heat as well. As Corentin Guinness, a little bit of a weird line there on the exit of Parabolica, wants to gain as much momentum as possible. It has to make it past Resende. Still in the draft with Gaston Kulhavi trailing really close behind. There is a cat's whisker of a gap between these 3 cars right now as Corentin Guinness on board the picture-in-picture, as you can see, trying to gain as much speed as possible. But here comes Kulhavi again, coming in on the outside, going to turn 1. There's a lot of speed there for Gaston Kulhavi. All that matters now, he tries to hold it in a little bit of a bump from Zamperlini into Resende. Resende having to drop a little bit of speed, but it looks like he might be able to take it again away from Kulhavi right now. They're coming up to the next corner. It's too wide coming into the chicane. Ooh, Kulhavi has the inside. He might be able to hold it, but here comes Resende on the side, and Kulhavi loses it on the exit, and he's gone off.
Oh no, Kulhavi into the wall. That is 2 drivers we have just lost in the space of about time. That is very, very look towards Jackson Resende then, who is ahead and leading this heat. We are on the last lap of this race. He's got to try and hold it to the end. We are heading towards the Ascari chicane, I believe, heading towards the end of this lap, as well as we can see the Kulhavi into the green there. Moves across and then he gets hit, which is really unfortunate, but we are right at the end, and I believe obviously Grizz, he will be starting from 2nd position with that, won't he?
Yeah, it looks like it, and again, very disappointing to be having to be forced out of the race so very, very late into the race. In fact, they're already on the white flags, which denotes the fact that this is the last lap. So crashing on the last lap is definitely something you want to avoid, but it does mean he'll be in a more favorable position for the next heat. But here we come, Jackson Resendi. He just has to hold it for one more corner as they're coming into the parabolic. Correntiguines doesn't look like he's close enough to mount a final attack, but just might happen there. Resendi going a little bit wide. Here comes Correntiguines. Brilliant exit, gaining a lot of momentum, and looks like they're going to be pulling up alongside each other. Correntiguines holding on to the lead. He might be able to finish as he crosses the line, and Correntiguines takes it by a hair's breadth. 1/100th of a second in front of Resendi. Resendi's not going to be happy with that result. What a finish from all of these drivers, and Heat 1. It is only the first heat, ladies and gentlemen. That means we have another race after this, another heat to be looking forward to. And oh my god, this is probably the first time I've seen the photo finish with my very own eyes here at AMX, and what a sight it was.
I mean, what a finish on my debut, and obviously both of our first first commentary, on this. Say lovely for Trenton Guillen, who's the win from Jackson Resendi, taking second. Then Fabio Zampellini in third, and what a first heat! I mean, I really did enjoy that.
Yeah, definitely. I was shouting at the top of my lungs at the end of that photo finish, but no time to dwell on that. We are beginning Heat 2 in a moment, and here we go. The green flags are off. A brilliant launch there coming in from Bruno Carmo, trying to make it past Martichico there. Believe that is it. He did have an excellent launch, so it looks like he'll be pulling ahead immediately before we enter the first corner. And looks like Martichico still holding on to speed 2, keeping Gaston Kulhavi from making an attack just yet. It looks like he's actually pulling up alongside. You might actually get head in for turn 1 there. A little bit of contact. Looks like some cars getting a little bit forced wide, but keeping it nice and tidy. Again, we like to see that for race starts. Pedro Dean holding on there. Gael Valero in P7 with Diego Villarreal holding on to P8. So far, the front runners. Oh, already a big accident here. That's Martichico. He's gone off again.
Off at the back. We've just had an absolutely brilliant heat. Can we have another one? It is Carmo napping this the Brazilian driver with the black and lime green car. Then it is second position of is it trailing them in third, and we'll see if we can get him good training going into the Ascari chicane. But that is very unfortunate for Chico. Round at the back.
Oh no, we're gonna have to see what happened there. Martichico already early on dropping out of the first heat, and now the same thing happening to him in the heat 2. Unfortunate, probably not his day of racing this time around, but can't dwell on that right now. We have Bruno Carmo here in P1 with Zevi Pla right behind him. Here we go to picture-in-picture. Martichico going in there. I think he may have gotten force wide. Yeah, a little bit of a tap there. I believe that was Gaston Kulhavi. A little bit of a tap on the exit that chicane, forcing Martichico into a spin. Again, these cars are rear-wheel drive, which means that if you end up in the spin, it will take a miracle to get it back under control, despite how little power they have. Zevi Pla now in a favorable position, holding on to that P2 with Thomas Bellarmine just behind him, actually making it past Bruno there. Got a nice run out of Parabolica. He'll be taking over the position away, but here comes Pedro Dean as well. He's making a pass happen, making it up to P3. Bruno Carmo taking that position away. They're both in draft with Thomas Bellarmine in P3. Coming up to turn 1 right now, we are pretty much going to have a repeat of what happened during Heat 1. It's going to be extremely close racing at the front of the pack all the way until the end, with drivers trading positions left and right, but different drivers this time around. Gael Valero making it up to P4 with Zevi Pla still holding on to that P2 position, but Thomas Bellarmine trying to look for a way through. Gael Valero actually made it past Thomas and is now holding on to P3. You have to be very careful on the exit of that chicane, especially when you're on the outside, because you might get bumped out. And I'm out of breath already, and it's only the start of Heat 2, man. Come on.
Oh my god, Heat 2, lap 2 out of 9. Brilliant debut this has been so far. I mean, I've absolutely loved the racing, and we see P2 trying to keep everybody else behind at bay. Gael Valero, just number 33, but it is Carmo who is just up ahead as we see Thomas Bellarmine come up on the screen. The American of course, and he's got a second. He's got a second between him, which actually is quite unusual. We've seen in Heat 1, we've seen very, very close times. Can he try and maybe try and stick in the draft and get himself a bit closer as he drifts out a bit wide? It's the Ascari chicane, but heading down towards Paris to try and get himself a bit closer if he can. Yeah, Carmo, the Brazilian, not doing too bad at the moment, but can he keep the guys behind him at bay as Carmo will off the screen in a moment, I believe. Yes, he does. Concentration. I love to see it. The concentration that they have on their faces when they pop up on the screen. Really, really have to seriously. It is about. And as we watch Carmo keep everybody behind him to try and get even closer. Pair bumpers together. Then number 99 of Pla, the opponents in this battle, trying to get through. Number 33 of Galvalero as well, pushing on, but who got ahead then as we go into turn 1?
Yeah, you have to be very careful with the bump draft, especially at the end of the start-finish straight, because bumping it at the wrong time will probably end up in a position that none of these drivers will want to be in. But here comes Evi Pla hounding the back of Bruno Carmo right now. Another Brazilian in the front. Actually, braking quite a bit early, wants to avoid having a little bit of a bump. Sorry, what was the word I was looking for? Fender bender is the word I was looking for. That's the one. Wants to avoid any sort of incident between him and Bruno Carmo that might take them both out right now. And you can see exactly how much these drivers are fighting to keep the car under control. Again, not particularly fast, but still rear-wheel drive, and as a result, could be very twitchy at high speeds as well. And wow, right now they're coming up to Montechico, another back marker yet again this time around. But this time around it's going to be really close. This is the narrow part of the track, actually swerving to avoid Montechico. There are all the drivers, might be a little bit too close for comfort there, but Bruno Carmo holding it as they're coming into the Ascari chicane. Sorry, not chicane, the winding S's. I am messing up my racing terminology this time around. It comes with the rust, I guess. Well, gonna have to shake it off and get ready, get locked in as the current drivers are right now. You can see the train extends all the way to the back right now. I believe those are all 12 drivers within the same train. So again, you can see the delta times on the board on the screen. You can see right now, super close to each other.
I mean, yeah, like you just mentioned, there is 12 of them there in the train. This is exactly what we've been looking for. And it is lovely to see now as we see it is Galvalero trying to get a move. They're going 2x2 once again down the straight. We've still got a bit of a longer time to go because obviously we are missing out the two usual corners, but pushing the number 30. Galvalero is lucky not to be in the. He continues on in the cars and him still on the inside. It is Carmo, and he goes through in that black and line. Carly move that was and trying to slip his way down the inside, try and claim that position. But now he has, but can he hold to it then? As Scout trying to fight again down the inside of the position now.
Every time I see the MX-5 twitch just a little bit, I get really scared as Alberto Senna there losing quite a bit of the speed. Losing position to Zevi Pla and Josh Perwin also making his way out to the grid slowly and steadily. Looks like there's a bit of a gap between Zevi Pla and Galvalero, but a Brazilian and a Frenchman fighting for P1. Wonder where we've seen that before. Oh yeah, just about 5 minutes ago when we were watching Heat 1. But here comes Zamberlini and Corrente Guinness making his way up the field, making up 8 positions since the start of the race. He wants that double finish. Double P1.
Jacquard's going into Ascari then. And I thought I got the corner name wrong there. Never know. I think I've got a lock in as well. Oh my god. Right, as we continue to watch them towards the Parabolica. And we are on with Guinness. At the Muscle, like I mentioned, up towards the Parabolica. My bad, run lap. And going on to the 5th lap, a few moments of Heat 2, of course. As Jim Rotende just got through past the number 10 Sinal. But as we watch the number 33, Galvalero then in the draft of Carmo, looking to get through as he head again down the main straight. can he use everything he's got to get his car and maybe try a little slingshot past him down into turn 1? And we can see moving that car a little bit. He's looking for the gap as we head closer and closer and closer towards 1. There you go. Can Valero do anything? He's looking for bumper to bumper, pushing him pretty much through these corners. And Mo is doing a brilliant job at staying where he handling his pressure well, and you can see it on his face. Nothing is getting to these drivers, and it can't do, because you can't think, just got to in racing nearly 2 wheels, just 2 wheels going for some of these cars. Oh wow, these are just lovely to watch.
Yeah, and it's interesting. It's convenient that you mentioned about pressure, because I was just about to talk about the amount of pressure that these drivers must be under, especially when the cars are so close together. Usually when it comes to racing, there's maybe like half a second gaps between them, so there's enough time to react. But when you're so close to each other like this, it really shortens how much time you have to react. And I can see the comments right now. One of them asking how much power these cars have, about 300, 400. Nah, man, they've only got about 155 horsepower. So they're not particularly fast. They're not really big on power, but you can see just how competitive this makes the drivers able to squeeze as much speed as they can out of these tiny 2-liter engines. And just like that, Bruno Carmo is still holding on to the lead. We're past the halfway point of the race right now, but it looks like Xavier Pla actually breaking away from the train at the back half, making his way up alongside Josh Perwin through the top 4. And Bruno Carmo, he has to face a concentration, but you can't let that concentration waver, not even for a second, because Gal Valero will just pounce on you like a hawk, waiting for you to make a mistake there.
Yes, he will. Gal Valero, like you mentioned, is now back again in the draft, and one single mistake, you've got concentration and keep everything you've got, because you've got a very talented driver behind you, and the whole pack very talented behind you. You've got to be careful of what you're doing. Valero is right on your tail, so you can't make any single mistake. And we have 4 drivers then as it goes through 2, and it is Villarreal to P12. It is Cool Harvey also P7 getting overtake through pass. Zampoli wasn't on the screen. Zampoli again. I think something happened at the back, has it? Unless it's just
looks like they're just trading positions right now.
Oh,
there's a big cloud of smoke in the back there.
Oh, there's another crash as well.
Oh, that's a big pileup. That's 4 cars involved. Diego Villarreal, we saw that, blew up a cloud of smoke at the back there, so he spun out as well. But now we have another incident involving Dantas, and now that's cool. Chico Villarreal. Oh my god, it is pandemonium going on right now as Dantas and Senao are making into the pits. We're going to get a replay of that pretty soon, I reckon. Have to see which cars were involved in that, but we can already pretty much assume from the fact that 3 of the drivers are now in the pit lane, that is the end of their races for now, I would say. Probably not going to come back out anytime soon. They have a lot of damage to repair, but the battle, of course, we're focusing on is the battle for P1 right now. Bruno Carmo still fending off Gal Valero, just silently watching him like a shark, waiting to pounce on his prey. And some comment saying, what happened? We don't know either, so we're going to get a replay in just a moment.
Yeah, hopefully the replay comes up pretty. We've seen crashes today, but that was definitely a big one. Big pile up, and we'll see a replay of that pretty soon. But we have to obviously concentrate on what we've got in front of us right now. Laps out of training heat, we can see, Carmo, Gal Valero, and Pla as well. Your top at the moment between. Oh, sorry, is that 4 of them or is that 3? And that's the of them. Heading down now, and yeah, they have broken away from the rest of the pack. We see in the background trying to go to take me through, and he has done that successfully. Can he try and take any more positions then, as running it out wide is Pla in P4, trying to get himself back up, calm and collected, see if he maybe training to get through past again, but he's just dropped a position, and now he's got to try and get himself back up. Sorry, the crash replay in the corner as well. That is really big.
Yeah, it looks like multiple instances there. Car nearly going onto its roof. Thank God for that roll cage. It looks like that crash happened at the end of that chicane and lasted all the way until the straight of the next turn. So probably holding a record for the longest crash distance that we've had so far at AMX. But again, can't dwell on it right now. There was a big cloud of smoke there and didn't actually see which cars were involved, but we can make our assumptions based on the drivers in the pits. As I mentioned before, Josh Purwin actually making it in front of Zevipla to take P3 away from him, and Josh as well, really late comer to AMX when he came in season 4, but we've already known he's fast, and he is proving that right now, hanging with the best of the best in AMX-5, about 2 tenths separating him and Gal Valero. So if he gets a good run out of the Parabolica, you might be in contention to be in that draft, making some headway. Actually letting off the throttle a little bit, wants to keep a bit of a gap there so he has enough time to react. Coming into Parabolica, looks like Gal Valero maybe succeeding a few tenths of a second behind Bruno Carmo, but he's going to get that all back as they're coming up to the start-finish straight. This drafting bit is always going to be so important because you need to maintain the speed, to maintain the position that you're in, because losing 5 or 6 Ks is going to be catastrophic for you. But Gal Valero happy to just stay in the slipstream all the way to the straight. I thought he might have been braking, he might want to break away a little bit, but we are in the penultimate lap, so still a bit of time, about 4 minutes left for Gal Valero to mount an attack. Still waiting for Bruno Carmo to make a mistake, but Bruno Carmo, face of steely determination, as you can see on the screen there, not losing, not giving out to the pressure, and Gal Valero having to brake early there. As Bruno Carmo coming into the chicane right now. The way you take the chicane has to be perfect. Ending up on 2 wheels as you clip the curve on the exit. You gain as much speed, keep your car straightened out as quickly as possible to gain as much speed on the exit. And Gal Valero now losing a bit of time there. Actually probably didn't take the chicane as well as he would have liked, but he's losing time to Bruno Carmo, and he has to make all that time back before they come into the last lap.
Yeah, like you mentioned, penultimate lap, lap 8 out of 9 in the position is just brilliant once again. Carmo, the prisoner up ahead and leading this heat from Gal Valero. In third, the number 4 car, as we head into Ascari, and we are starting to see a little bit of a gap from between the business. They're still close, don't get me wrong, but compared to what it is breaking away just a little bit, but we do see obviously 2 drivers there at the bottom, and the concentration is superb as we see him take a little look at the cap, getting very close. Yeah, the number 33, Gal pushing the car ahead of Carmo into the Parabolica as we make way onto the lap of this Heat 2 then for AMX. Carmo is going to try his best to stay ahead of Vero. Can he try and keep his car in P1? Gal Valero is pushing on as hard as he can get as well. The Aussie of Perwin, P3 behind that, and Polaris so is still in contention, just behind. There is 4 tenths between them two. But the gaps are getting closer and closer by the lap, and Perwin then is an overtake down the outside into turn 1. Can the Aussie get through? Yes, he can, and taking the lead of his heat. That is lovely, lovely stuff.
Oh yeah, we were so focused on whether or not Gal Valero was about to mount an attack that we completely ignored the fact that Bruno Carmo there, Josh Purwin there, actually tried mounted the attack on himself, but Gal Valero immediately just losing 2 positions there. Zevipla also being a bit brave into that chicane, making the move on to Gal Valero. He has no choice but to give it away because he didn't have the best exit coming up there. Zevipla taking over Gal Valero, and we were waiting for so long for Gal Valero to mount an attack. We were expecting it to happen, and it just sort of fizzled out because now he's in a really bad spot to contend for that P1 spot. He's already really far behind, about a second separating him and Bruno Carmo. Got not much track left to make up that time, so now the battle for first place is between Bruno Carmo and Josh Purwin. He tries to make a move, gets the slingshot out into the straight before Ascari. Will he be able to hold that position as it coming to the inside? It starts with a left and then goes into a right, but it looks like he's making it out in front of Bruno Carmo, making that pass quite clean actually. And it looked, oh my god, he's managing to hold on to it. We've got a big gap in front of him as well. Or Bruno Carmo unable to make the headway there, but he did have an excellent run up into Parabolica, and now he is going for the slingshot as they're pulling alongside, side by side into Parabolica. Bruno Carmo may be edging out just a little bit, taking the inside, blocking Josh Berwin from making a move, forcing him to go wide in the Parabolica. Josh Berwin is not having any of that, tightening it up for the end of Parabolica. Ooh, Bruno Carmo twitching a little bit. That means Josh Berwin might just have the exit he needs. And it looks like we're probably going to have another photo finish. As it's coming across the line, Bruno Carmo holds it just barely, another hundredths of a second gap separating P1 and P2, and yet again another photo finish for the second heat, back to back.
Oh my god, so close with them two. It was Carmo that nearly got it snatched away by Berwin, but I've got to say, the giveaways, that was brilliant racecraft and racing for them two heats.
Yeah, and all of them managing to keep it tidy all the way to the very end. No last lap shenanigans this time around, just pure clean racing all the way from the start to the end. And Bruno Carmo holding it out all the way until the last lap, until he crosses the checkered flag. Brilliant drive from him, and he's going to be really happy with that result. As we're still waiting for a couple of drivers to cross the start-finish straight right now. Checker flags will be waving up for these drivers. They did end up rejoining the race after being stuck in the pits to repair damage. But until then, here the current standings for Heat 2, Bruno Carmo, P1, Josh Berwin, stellar drive to make it up to P2. Gavalero, unable to mount the attack as he planned, stuck in P3. Zevipla in P4, Thomas Bellamy in P5 wasn't part of that contention at all. Corentin Guinness in P6, contrary to the excellent finish he had in the first heat, ended up in P6 this time. Pedro Dean P7, Jackson Resende, same as Guinness, didn't really have an opportunity to make it to the front of the pack, stuck there in P7 and P8, sorry. And just like that, race 5 is over. Your BenQ session winner on the screen right now, Bruno De Carmo, is going to be pretty happy with that result. As we go down the board right now, Josh Berwin P2, Gal Valero P3, Zevipla P4, Thomas Bellamy P5, Corentin Guinness P6, Pedro D in 7th, Jackson Resende in 8th, Gaston Kulhavi in 9th, Evandro Dantas in 10th, Fabio Zampolini in 11th, Diego Villarreal in 12th, Montechico in 13th, and Alberto Sanao in P14, with the fastest lap there, unsurprisingly, being held by Josh Berwin. And look at that, the gap for P1 and P2, even smaller than we actually saw. It is 8 thousandths of a second, so an actual photo finish was there.
0.0 seconds between them two. What good finishes we've had. I mean, Heat 1 finish and Heat 2 photo finish, you don't really hear much of it really, but we've had the best in both of the heats, and it's been absolutely lovely.
I think contrary to what you said, it's not like it doesn't happen much. It's never happened as far as I'm concerned. Every race I've been in, I've never seen this kind of result, but here we are. This is the first time for everything, and what a way to start off this season for me and for you, of course, making your debut. I mean, it was amazing to see.
Yeah, speaking of debuts, I mean, I've had a few debuts in other places, and they've not always gone to plan. But some of this, I mean, the brilliant racecraft of the drivers, it has really gave us there's no words for it. Such a brilliant 2 heats to start off the E today. Yeah,
and don't forget, we still have another race right after this. So if you guys are looking forward to the AMX-5 Race 6 will be happening in about half an hour. We're looking forward to having you stick around there. In the meantime, you can check our socials down there. They'll be on screen in just a bit. But what a race, and I'm already tuckered out. Looking forward to seeing what happens next. There we go. There are our socials. AMX Global on Instagram, Twitch, X, formerly known as Twitter. We have Discord. We have YouTube. Our website as well. You can check highlights there, and short form content on TikTok. You should probably go check that out if you have TikTok. I have seen all of the clips, and they are amazing, extremely hype, extremely fun to watch. So up until then, race 6 will be starting in about half an hour. So until then, I'm Damon. I'm joined here by Jack, and we'll see you in just a little bit.
See you later, guys.
to save our home. We must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
And welcome back to AMX Global Season 5, where we are going to be underway with race sticks in just a little bit. Another Italian track this time. We will be on Mugello with the Formula SF23 class cars. So much different than the previous race. We've got some driver changes, but again, here we are. We're back. My name is Damon. I'm joined here by Jack Crossley, and from what we saw earlier on with race 5, even with the underpowered Mazda MX-5, it was still extremely close racing. So I'll be really interested to see what the racing is going to be like when the cars are much lighter, much faster, and much longer. What do you think, Jack?
I mean, I think you're absolutely right. I mean, heats, the cars are very nippy, they're very fast. But I mean, going into the Formula, very light. I mean, you don't need to leave much room to brake and turn into the corners. You can get very good overtakes and very fast indeed with these cars. So it's going to be exciting to see what kind of racing we can going into it today.
Yeah, always fun to watch some open wheel racing, and we'll be seeing that in just a bit. But of course, our socials down there: Instagram, Twitch, X, formerly known as Twitter, Discord, YouTube, our website amxrace.com, and short form content on TikTok. But enough of that. Let's go over the housekeeping, and then we'll jump straight into qualifying. Of course, here we are on Mugello. You can see it on the camera, on the screen right now. AMX SimRacing World Championship Season 5 overview. We started last week on May 25th. We are running all the way until August 18th with a prize pool of $15,000 and next level gear. The race format is as follows. We have a 20-minute qualifier. The top 15 times from qualifying will be shuffled in reverse grid order for the first heat. And the top 15 from the first heat will then be shuffled again in reverse grid order for heat 2. So you'll have different drivers at the front all the time. Here's our overview. Of course, driver cams are of course required. Payout in the form of balances over $100 paid out every month. Our race days are on Saturday and Sunday. No more Tuesdays this time, which is unfortunate, but it means we get to pack a lot more condensed, intense racing, and we have more drivers on the grid as well. You can sign up to race anytime at amxrace.com, even now, if you would like to take part. Gates are always open. Our schedule is, of course, following Greenwich Mean Time. So every Saturday and Sunday we start at 5:50 p.m. for the first race, and then the second race will be at 7:20 p.m. AMX 0 and AMX 20 will be held every other week. So this week, in fact, we will have AMX 0 and AMX 20 tomorrow. But for the weeks before that, we have only AMX 5 races. Our current prize pool is as follows. Qualifying and as well as both heats. First place gets $15 with the rewards going down incrementally until we hit P15. For the heats themselves, there will also be an additional bonus of $2 for the fastest lap set by any driver. You need a minimum I rating of 2,000 to take part. And here is your top 12 right now. We have Gal Valero in first place. Took part in every race so far but hasn't been able to win one yet, but still holding on to that very nice purse of $89.5. Toby Soriano is in P2, Dino Filippo in P3, Jackson Rezende in P4, Bruno Carmo in P5, Martin Chico in P6, Juan Blenat P7, Kieran Harrison P8, Ralph Benitez P9, Victor Miranda in P10, Alberto Sanao 11, and Gaston Kulhabi rounding up the top 12. We also have a current promotion running early on. If you join with AMX's Season Pass, you get to save 40% on every race, and you will be able to take part in AMX-5 iRacing, AMX-5 ACC, Assetto Corsa Competizione, as well as AMX-20. And as always, we're bringing it over to Jack for the track and car info. Take it away, man.
But everybody they will be racing on today. Then it is the Ben in Italy, opened in 1974, and 49 years fact, next year, it will be 50 years since the opening of this absolutely beautiful track length as well of 5.245 kilometers long. Is looking a very nice day as well. So hopefully we can get some good race down here with cars which will be coming up next. Going for today. Earlier on, we used obviously the very nippy, fast and nippy cars, but now we are on to the SF23. A lot more horsepower, 550 horsepower in this one. It is a rear-wheel drive and a weight of 60 kilograms, so it is very, very light indeed, and obviously sequential gearbox as well, but very, very aerodynamic and can slow down in a very, very quick and small space time. They're very excited to see what racing we can get out of these today.
Thank you very much, Jack. And just like that, we're now going to get into qualifying. I'm seeing all the drivers on the grid right now are really, really wheeling it in. We already have some fast laps coming in, and you can see on the track, on your screen right now, the Formula SF23 cars that Jack was talking about. Amazingly fast, highly aerodynamic, and 550 horsepower from a 2-liter turbocharged inline 4. Can you imagine how much work had to go into these engines to be able to generate that much power from such a small capacity? But regardless, it will make for some really, really interesting and fast racing. And like we mentioned before, these cars are vastly different to the MX-5 you saw last race. It's going to take a lot more concentration. There will be a lot less margin for error, and you're going to be blitzing past at close to 170 to 180 miles an hour. So, not a bit of a whiplash whiplash from the first race, especially for the drivers that are taking part in the previous race as well as this one. So it'll be interesting to see how these drivers end up adapting, won't it be, Jack?
Definitely. Just watching this on board then of Ariel then in these, I mean, they look brilliant, really fast, and flying around this circuit like it's grip so easily. The down that they can take is just magnificent, and it does prove for a good evening of racing as well. We have best of about left side on the top of the time board. Moment number 9 with 1 minute 22, and he get him and Ariel in second, number 12, and we do have a big bunch of Brazilians. Then it is Ariel and 2, 3, and 4 here for AMX-5, but on the screen driver spotlight is Gustavo Ariel, age 22, and like a few months ago, currently in P2 with only two taps between him and Simon. So we've got a bit of a while left of qualifying. Let's see.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note that even though this track is probably slightly longer than Monza, it's also a lot more technical. You don't have that many fast sections aside from the massive start-finish straight before San Donato, which is the very first corner. And already these cars are blitzing, these open wheelers are already blitzing through the track faster than the MX-5 ever did for Monza. So it just really goes to show how much faster these cars are compared to the ones before it. You can see timing boards at the bottom there, as well as the legend. Purple means you're fastest in the session, green is your personal best for that sector, and yellow means you haven't improved on your current time. And you can see Valero, green and purples everywhere, so it looks like he's about to cross the finish line. There he is, up in P3, 126.5. Not quite as fast as Simon right there, but still a very, very respectable time there. Thomas Simon there. Got a bunch of new drivers here, but also some drivers that are holdovers from the previous race. We have Valero here, of course, Pedro Dean, Jackson Resende, and instead of Bruno Del Carmo, we now have Fabio Del Carmo. So siblings, I guess, one of them taking over for the other. We also have a Costa Rican driver there, Francesco Biasiotto, as well as a couple of Americans. Tim State, a very fan favorite here in AMX as well. Of course, we've seen him race a couple of times, and he's been very entertaining to watch the whole time. Also, another American, Boris Angel Ovando. We also have, I believe, this is an Englishman here, Connor Scudal there. Gaston Kuhavi, Ralph Benitez, Tobias Soriano, Diego Villarreal also making a pass. So a lot of relatively familiar names, but also some different ones this time around. But again, it'll be interesting to see how competitive this ends up being.
Will be, and you now see heading the skull, and currently positioned, if I can remember, because my game is going all over the place, P13, number 22, and if we look on the left, we have virtual reality. I've seen that while I'm doing my which is really nice to see. I've seen it watching the streams, but not actually doing the commentary on it. It's definitely something I'd like to try out. That looks really good, especially with you can with a triple monitor setup. Don't get me wrong, it's not bad. You can see around, but when you've got a headset on, it's a completely different thing. And pretty much in all angles. That looks very, very fun. What's your take on that?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I've seen a couple of drivers also going to the VR way of getting around. Of course, we know Tim State is a massive proponent of the VR headset. To see there's another one alongside him, joining him in his in the virtual reality. Amazing to see here. We're on board with Francesco Biasiotto there. Relatively new driver. We haven't seen him in past seasons, but it looks like he was pretty good, pretty up there in terms of keeping up with the rest of the pack there. Currently in P6, 126.7, so about 5/10 off the leader. Tim State there, of course, you can see with the purple and orange livery on his SF23 car. Yeah, there you go. He is also on the virtual reality as always. Why is it zooming into his face? I'm not entirely sure, but there it is, the VR headset there, front and center. This State is a great guy. We've talked with him a couple of times, and he's always seemed very happy to be here as well. Oh, looks like maybe a little bit of a disconnect there. I think he just dropped out. Cast his curse, I guess. In the meantime, we'll look at the other drivers here. Valero in the pure jet black SF23, very, very sleek looking car, and you can see there's minute differences in aero compared to the F1 cars that we're normally used to seeing. These open wheelers are American based. They take part in American based races, so the aerodynamic requirements are different compared to F1, but regardless, they're still high downforce, high performance, high speed cars. It'd be interesting to see how these drivers manage to tackle a course like Mugello.
Yes, he will be, and we see putting that car on the edge, going through the corners, and we see Talamon then, who is in P1 at the moment and has gone quickest in the first and second sector. I think at the end of the lap, up towards the line, quickest already, but can he go even quicker on this lap around? He heads the line, and my game lagging out. He does go quicker by 0.2 of a second. That is not bad at all.
Yeah, amazing drive from him. He about 5 minutes left in the qualifying. He just set another blistering time that the other drivers are going to be scrambling to catch up to. 3/10 separating him and the next fastest driver there, Pedro Diva. Here comes Gustavo Ariel. He immediately makes up the time. Now only down to 1/10 behind Simon there. Still holding on to that P2, taking it over from Pedro Dean there. As I was just mentioning, his drivers are starting to really get into the groove of these cars right now, know exactly when to get back on the throttle, when to apply the brakes, how much braking is required to navigate this corner. And on your screen right now, the player cam of Gustavo Ariel, very, very close to the screen camera, in fact. But if it's comfortable for him, there's no room for us to judge. And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see during the actual race itself, because these drivers are currently on their own in running in clean air. So not really any intervention, not really any distractions or obstacles or roadblocks they have to get through in order to set the fastest lap. They're pretty much just free to go as fast as possible, and we will see those times reflected in the boards later on. But whether or not Gael Valero will be able to take over the position, into and go into the podium remains to be seen. We've got about slightly under 4 minutes left in the qualifying, and oh, I'm really excited right now. Gustavo Ariel actually slowed down there, trying to let another car pass. That will be him sacking this particular lap, and yeah, I mean, qualifying is as qualifying is. Nothing really particularly interesting apart from the times itself, but we already said that they are set. So as I say that, and Pedro Dean immediately, blistering lap, takes over P2 away from Gustavo Ariel yet again with a 126.148, about 5/10 ahead of 5/100ths of a second ahead of Ariel. So yeah, maybe I should stop talking before I curse myself anymore.
Speaking of curses, I mean, from my recent experience, had is cursed, and I think a lot of us do it quite a lot. So I think we've got to be that, haven't we? But yeah, lap just there, and 110, sorry, behind Smith at the top. There goes to P3 with the car, and that is marginally close to Dean's time in second. He'll be kicking himself about that, but still got 2 minutes left of this second, sorry. So we will see where it end up towards the bit come then. But we have Ariel P4, 3 minutes, sorry, 2 in this qualifying session for AMX-5. As we can see on Pedro has gone yellow in both sectors, not skipping on that lap. P2, he wanted to try and get through fun time the top position, but he isn't able to do that on that lap. Fabio De Carmo has gone yellow as well. Then we have Francesco BSN, who is 6/10 down on the sector.
Yeah, and with less than a minute and a half left to go in qualifying, it doesn't look like these drivers who are just crossing the start-finish line will be able to have time to set another lap. So it looks like qualifying times might be just set in stone right now. Jackson Resende proves to me that by going into the pits, calling it a P3 is pretty good for him. He's going to be pretty happy with that. More drivers going into the pits. And Jackson Resende, we talked about him last race. Pretty good finish in Heat 1. Not a great finish in Heat 2, but still a very consistent performance. A little bit of a glow up compared to last season. We already know he's been extremely fast in qualifying, right? Even being able to take positions away from some of our fastest drivers. He just hasn't been able to translate that to actual race performance yet. But it looks like things might be just turning around for him. Meanwhile, there we go, Tomas Simonda still holding on to that P1. He is nigh unstoppable. For the time being, Gael Valero actually dropping down another position down to P5 now, so he'll be starting at P10 on the grid. And again, it's very interesting to see how strategy plays a big part in some of these drivers, especially during qualifying, because remember, the top 5 will end up in the bottom 15 of the bottom 5 of the grid. So it's the onus is onto them to be able to claw their way back to the front of the pack. And here we go, the end of qualifying. As I've just mentioned here, times are pretty much set in stone. We have Tomas Simon from Hungary in P1, Pedro Dean, Jackson Resende, Gustavo Ariel, all from Brazil, making up 2, 3, and 4, with Gael Valero in 5th, Fabio Do Carmo in 6th, Francesco Biasiotto in 7th, Tobias Soriano in 8th, Ralph Benitez in 9th, Boris Ovando in 10th, Gaston Kulhavi in 11th, Connor Scudal in 12th, Martin Chico in 13th, Pablo Mercera in 14th, Tim State in P15, and Diego Villarreal rounding it up. He actually did not set a qualifying time, so he will be starting from the back of the grid. He is out of the top 15, and only the top 15 ends up getting shuffled.
Well, lovely qualifying session, and going into the heat next, we did start to the season, and hopefully we can have another good half. Coming up next with the 16 drivers that join us for this MX-5 race in Season 5, the brand new season, of course.
Alright, we're coming out to Heat 1 now. The drivers are loading onto the grid. We have Tim State in front of the podium. He has to have a good launch in order to hold on to that position, because inevitably all these drivers at the back, especially the faster drivers, are going to be looking to make it through him. You can see from this position a very nice camera angle from the observers here. Don't seem to be seeing the lights on the gantry just yet. Still waiting for a couple of drivers to load in. You can see the player cams on your right side. Everyone's getting ready. Ooh, the excitement is about to bubble up, and the music is hype as well. But the music will go off as soon as the race flag drops. Here we go, the launch is out. Ooh, the drop comes in just in time as it goes off, and Pablo Mercera is now in front with Carlos Scudal on the back, Martin Chico in P3, and there was a driver off already. That's Fabio Navarro. He is already out with a missing nose. Wonder what happened there. We're gonna have to check on that later on, but we're focusing on the race start right now. Valero up in P3 behind Martin Chico. Hopefully he'll be able to oh, another spin. That is Pedro Dean. He is spun out into the runoff, and I was talking about the top 3. Martin Chico, we were talking about him earlier, didn't have very good performances in the last race. Hopefully he'll be able to turn tides around this time around. Gaston Kulhavi in P5, and again, we've already seen a couple of incidents, and that is just to be expected with cars of this performance. Far cry from the MX-5s earlier.
Wow, what a good start. Had a few spins at the start. Overall, had a have 2 Argentines at the top. It is P2, Meserata and Chico at the top. And we can see in the bottom right now the Carmo race start incident straight to the live barriers there, and that tyre and that wall. And he into
I'm not sure
the
what
as
happened
well.
there. Yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he underestimated how much power, how much the wheels would spin when he launches off, which is unlikely. Maybe he got bumped at the back there. It wasn't really quite clear from the angle that we had. But here we go. We're coming up to lap 2 right now. Here comes Gal Valero making a pass onto Montechico, having to just let him through because he was sending it into turn 1. And now Gal Valero is hot on the heels of Pablo Mercera. We were talking about that. Oh, Boris Ovando! That was bad from him. Another incident off camera. We'll have to check what replay that, but that also takes out Gaston Kulhavi as well. So now we have 3 drivers in the pit lane waiting to repair damage. While we were talking about Gal Valero trying to make it past Pablo Mercera, I was just talking about this. I wonder where Tomas Simon is. He's currently in P8, making up about 7 positions. So quite a bit of progress he's made from signing the back of the pit, back of the grid. But is it going to be quick enough for him to catch up to the front of the pack right now, as Gal Valero is hounding Mercera right now?
Yeah, Gal Valero really wants to get through. We are on board with Mercera then at the moment. There's a 3-10 gap between in its second position on the second lap, out of 14 for this Heat 1 race. So then, lovely cars, and really have got 2 drivers in the pit lane so far. Vando coming out onto the track now, the American driver, of course, Scooter, the aerial number 22, and getting nicely, heading up towards the main straight now, and we are still watching Mercer then being pressured by Galleros in the bottom right hand side. We see Cool Harvey and Benitez incidents going side by side. Oh, that is hot. Is that very good around there?
Yeah, and
Max
the danger with these open, the danger with these open wheel cars, as we just saw, is that unlike regular cars where if you rub against each other, you're rubbing against fenders, right? And you're not actually affecting the drive wheels. No such protection here for these open formula cars. If you start rubbing against each other, one of you is going to lose a wheel, and worst case scenario, both of you end up out of the running because these cars are so fragile and fast that any mistake could end up costing you the entire race. As we're talking about that right now, Valero is taking over the position away from Mercerat, but here comes Martin Chico. Oh, looks like Gustavo Ariel's trying to make a move past him. He gets the inside line. He will be able to make that pass clean. We let's see if Chico takes that position back away, but that is a very clean pass there from Gustavo Ariel, and immediately has to succeed that position. And I've seen the comments asking whether what cars these are from. These are indeed Super Formula cars, part of the Japan open wheel racing competition, championship actually. And all of them are running either Honda or Toyota power plants, 2-liter inline 4 engines. Because Martin Chico there swerving on the outside, that gives Connor Scudell room to come in on the inside, but he doesn't have the best exit coming out of it. Martin Chico holding on to that position for the time being, as Rafa Benitez is also hounding Connor, trying to see if he can make a move past, going wide on the exit there. And Martin Chico having a much better race than he did earlier on in race 5. Here comes Thomas Simon. He's on board of him. He's making it past Connor. He's blisteringly quick. It looks like he'll be able to make the pass take just now, as Connor had the inside track but didn't have the speed to hold on to that position. Thomas Simon making the passes look so darn easy. He's in front of Tobias Soriano as well as Connor. 1.5 seconds behind Martin Chico. We'll have to see if he'll be able to make that gap really quickly, and it looks like very precarious position to be in, especially staring down the exhaust port of these Super Formula cars.
Yes, lap 4 out team, and are watching Benitez. Guys behind me going two abreast into this corner here. There's everybody trying to fight for positions. Scudell now staying ahead in P7. Just Serrano ahead of him as well, and at the moment he's got 9 attempts to come behind. The guy in front just get overtaken by Resende, who goes through to take P7 quite nicely. And then Scudell going back again down the inside and battling away for that so easily as the break is going side by side with the black and yellow looking car as well. We'll see these two go side by side. You can see Connor Scudell bottom left corner, and concentration absolutely locked for a better word, because he cannot make a single mistake, especially in cars like the. I want to go you mentioned about how agile they can be, and obviously going side by side in one of these, some use a wheel or some kind of part, of course. But yeah, brilliant race so far.
Yeah, very clean, very methodical. We're past the 30% point of the race right now, and Connor actually managing to keep Resende at bay for the time being, but Resende is a man on a mission right now. Martin Chico still holding on to that P4 position. Thomas Simon is right behind him. Of course, that gap, which was 1.5 seconds 2 laps ago, is now down to less than half a second. And Thomas Simon, absolutely blistering pace, gets the slick shot onto Martin Chico at the start-finish straight as they're coming to T1. Brilliant drive so far from Thomas Simon. He is absolutely the man of the hour right now. Amazing pace coming from him, already making it up to P4, starting from the back of the grid. Amazing drive from him so far. He's now about 3 seconds down for Pablo Mercerat, but if the last couple of laps anything to go by, that gap will be eviscerated in no time at all.
Yes, that was some very good racing indeed. Chico P5 and Simone to P4. Of course, but it is Valero who is leading this heat so far, with Ariel behind him by 2.4 seconds. But it is not great. Fair. I mean, the gap between a lot of these drivers is big, and I mean we've got Serrano, 8 tenths behind Chico. Maybe we'll see something coming out of that one. We've got Resende, 5 tenths. Maybe see some with them soon, but we are on board. Sorry, not on board. We are watching Resende right now. And can try to get a good slipstream from him, and maybe get a little slip. And we know how good these cars are. Resende coming on the street as he sits there, quite relaxed, quite calm. He's keeping very good. He tries to get the overtake done, and yes, he does get it for them. But no switch back inside, very close, nearly putting them into the wall there, and that could have been a bad accident. But he managed it, and you see, really had to keep that on the track.
Yeah, Resende actually lost control of the car a little bit, struggled to keep it into position, but ended up scrubbing off a lot of speed, and that gives Ralph Benitez right behind him opportunity to catch up. Now he's the one being hunted down by Benitez. We're on board with him right now. You can see how fast these cars are barreling through the track. 260Ks coming up to that right-hander, and it wasn't even a particularly long straight as well. That just shows you how fast these cars gain that speed and how fast they can scrub it off as well. So it's a matter of how brave you can be on the brakes, because you want to scrub off as little speed as possible to have a good exit. The battle between Benitez and Resende is heating up, because Resende seems to have lost the plot with Connor a little bit, dropping down to about 8 tenths of a second. So this battle may not be going anywhere just yet. We're past the halfway point of the race right now, and it looks like things are pretty much set in stone. There's a pretty big gap between a lot of the drivers on the grid right now, up 1 to 2 seconds difference. But even then, on the screen, you can see 1 or 2 seconds really doesn't look like a lot of distance.
No, it doesn't. So, on with the Brazilian driver as well. It's 8 and 9 sharp. They've got obviously now ahead as well. 8 out, and like you mentioned, high through this race so far. Sector time. Eco Simone 5 tenths up on in sector 1 there, which is keep very him, and he's P4 at the moment. We're on board with as he tries to hunt down Mercedes in P3. The Argentine and do it for 5 laps. Heading through these corners like they are absolutely nothing. I mean, it requires good skill. The Mercedes now he's trying to stay. Can he do it?
Yeah, and like I said before, that was a 3-second gap between Mercedes and Simon 3 laps ago. All of a sudden, the gap is gone, and he makes the pass happen up to P3. He makes it look so darn easy as they're coming into turn 1 right now. And Thomas Simon, brilliant pass from him. He just makes it look clean, makes it look simple. And now he's got Gustavo Ariel in his sights. Another 3 seconds separating him. But at his current pace, he'll probably be able to hound him by the time we reach the penultimate lap. As we're on board with Montechico right now, slowly dropping positions. Actually, Tobias Soriano made it past him as well, so he's now down to P6. Doesn't seem to have the pace at the moment there. Hopefully he doesn't drop any more positions, but we have Resende about a second trading about a second behind him with Connor Scudal. He actually made it past Connor earlier on in the lap. We just completely missed it. That gives a lot of breathing room between him and Ralph Benitez as well. Just behind him is Francesco Biasiotto in P10, with Tim State actually doing pretty well for himself in P11, despite the fact that he ended up not being particularly high finishing in the previous season, making a pretty good run for himself here. VR headset really delivering on all fronts here for him, helping him with an advantageous and immersive position. Simon there, you can see the time deltas between him and Gustavo Ariel is just absolutely astonishing. He is blitzing Ariel in every sector of the lap. But Valero, of course, another, yeah.
Sorry about that.
Sorry, continue.
Alright, I'm going to say the sector times, he is absolutely blitzing him. That is looking really good. So, as we are on lap 10 of 4 MX-5 race here in Mugello for Heat 1. Gal Valero, 2.7 seconds, 2.8 ahead of Ariel, and doing a superb job at the moment, trying to stay ahead. Made up 10 positions since the race. Even Ariel made up 10 positions. But the man of the hour really is Simone with 12 positions made up in 3. Can he try and I mean, rise any more than that? He is 12. Can he do any more? 12 impressive so far. And can he try and maybe get Ariel? If you can find this gap, is 2.9 seconds. Is a little bit at the moment, but these cars, of course, like I mentioned earlier, aerodynamically designed, they are very quick. Number 12 on the main straight, they can make up time. I mean, you know, incredibly. Just depends on what guy ahead. Simone can deal with this pressure. Messerat behind P4, then Serrano in P5. Then P7 is in 8 at the moment. Sudan in 9. Then Biasotto 11. Dean Villarreal 13. Who behind Dean at the moment and holding on quite nicely. We'll have to see how well we can keep this car behind, try and stay within the second gap.
Yeah, looks like Gustavo Ariel is actually making quite a bit of time with the guy Valero. The gap was about 3 seconds at the beginning, now shrunk down to about 2.5 seconds with about 3 laps remaining. It remains to be seen whether or not he'll be able to keep closing the distance, but it looks like it might be on the cards for him, as he is actually accelerating further and further away from Tomas Simon, who hasn't seemed to be able to make any headway ever since he made it into that P3. So far, Gal Valero pretty comfortable in front, still holding about a 2-second lead, but it is shrinking lap after lap, probably trying to hold on to pace to conserve as much of his tires as possible to make it last sprint through the finish line. So, lap 12 out of 14 right now. We're almost in the home stretch, and Gal Valero in a pretty comfortable position, holding on to that lead. Just has to keep calm and play it safe under the pressure. And you can see that Gal Valero, no stranger to pressure. Of course, he was under heavy amounts of pressure, and he was also doing quite a lot of pressuring in the last race. But now, with him in the podium, in pole position, looking down on all the competition he has at the moment, he seems pretty confident. But again, Gustavo Ariel, every lap he's narrowing the gap by about 0.3. Not enough, I think, to challenge Valero for the position, but still going to be pretty happy with that P2 right now. P1, P2, and P3 are all pretty much almost locked in.
And nothing at all is phasing Gal Valero at the moment. He is dropping time, but he is locked in. He is very, very focused on what is going on. Nothing is from doing that. Although, as I do speak about that, it's 1.9 seconds, 1.8 hopping between Gal Valero and Ariel behind in the on Frenchman. Can he will have to just see, won't we, with 1.6 seconds gap, and it is ping just as I'm speaking. 5 seconds now. Gap down, we'll have to long it take. Or come down close enough so there maybe we can get a good battle before the end. But it is lap 13. This hit will be more simple. Lots of time left. Done.
Yeah, it's actually crazy because we can see from the last sector times that Gustavo Ariel made up 0.4 on that final sector before the start-finish straight. Immediately swallowed the gap. It was 2 seconds at the end of the last lap. It's now down to 1.2 seconds. So all of a sudden, Gal Valero his position is not looking particularly comfortable. He suddenly feels a little bit of pressure coming from behind him. You can actually see Gustavo Ariel in his rearview mirror right now. And yeah, he's going to have to hold on to that position as long as he can. Of course, you can see he is still having some synchronization issues. This flickering in and out assistance like he's just been Thanos snapped. Gustavo Ariel's not going to get distracted by that, however. The gap now down to less than a second over the course of 2 laps. Ariel there, hard charging to the front of the pack. Looks like we might see that last lap battle you were talking about here. They're on the start-finish right here. We go, the last lap. And Gustavo Ariel still on his tear. So close behind Guy Valero. Guy Valero now has to speed it up just a little bit. Up his pace to make sure Ariel doesn't get an opportunity to attack. But when the cars are this close together, anything can happen. If Guy Valero makes one mistake, the race is over for him. Gustavo Ariel actually left Thomas Simon all the way back there. The gap extended to 4.3 seconds. Pretty much all the time that he made up catching up to Guy Valero. You can see on the player cams, these two drivers battling head to head. We're currently about halfway through the lap right now. Looks like he's not really able to make up any more time than that. Guy Valero is upping his pace. You can definitely see it from how consistently ahead he's staying it around that delta, 1/9 to about a second. Oh, we're still on board with Ariel. However, he might be able to pull something out of the bag just before the race ends. And so Tobias Soriano, actually they're making a move onto Messerat. No, Messerat actually dropped it. He lost another position to Resende. I wonder what happened with that. Maybe he went off track a little bit. Yeah, he definitely did go off. He just lost a lot of positions. Here we go, start finish straight. Valero holding it on to the very end. Will he be able to keep it as he crosses the start finish line? He does in fact keep P1. A brilliant drive from him from start to finish. Gustavo Ariel just behind him. Thomas Simon holding on to that P3, unable to catch up to Gustavo Ariel, who just decided to leave him behind in the dust. Now we're on board with Francesco Biasiotto as they're crossing the start-finish line. Martin Chico in P7, much better position than he was in last race, holding on to that spot. Oh, looks like Chico manages to cross the finish line just before, or not. Actually, from the timing board, it seems that the difference was about 1/1000th of a second. So we'll have to see officially what the results are. Meanwhile, Tobias Soriano making up the P4, Jackson Resende P5, great position for him. Connor Scudal also in P6. Martin Chico, maybe he hold on to that position. We have to wait until the official results come in just a moment. They'll be up on your screen. And yeah, brilliant heat, brilliant drive from Guy Valero. You can see man of the hour on your screen. Great race, of course. We expect the best from him. Winning there, Gustavo Ariel about 0.6 of a second behind him. Thomas Simon 5 seconds in P3. Tobias Soriano in P4. Jackson Resende in P5. Connor Scudal in P6. And it looks like Martin Chico did actually lose that position to Francesco Biasiotto near the very end, so he's gonna have to settle for P8. Pedro Dean P9, Pablo Mercer in P10, Tim State P11, great finish from him. Diego Villarreal P12, Ralph Benitez in 13, Boris Ovando, Gaston Kulhavi, and Fabio Do Carmo rounding up the bottom 3. Unfortunate incident for Fabio Do Carmo at the beginning there, with the fastest lap being held by Gustavo Ariel during his absolute tear.
Well, that was really fun. As we go into Heat 2,
Ooh. Alright, cars on the board, running in, gonna go down anytime now. And they're off. Hopefully Fabio Do Carmo in front of the pack this time. He'll be able to keep it steady. Looks like he is. Dropping out of the top 15 actually, so he'll still be starting at the back, so it's unfortunate for him, but at least this time he had a pretty safe launch, so he wouldn't be going off. That was a car going very, very wide there. I think that was Diego Villarreal there. Ooh, a little bit of jostle in the middle of that. A lot of drivers going wide, but so far, no harm, no foul. Pretty clean from all the drivers. You got 16 cars on the grid, anything can happen. And Boris Ovando is holding on to that position right now, but Pedro Dean is hot on his heels with Gaston Kulhavi just behind him. What about the current front runners? Oh, big crash! That was 5 cars taken out immediately. Chico, Simon, Guy Valero, and Tobias Soriano all taken out back there. And Guy Valero, after what an amazing drive he had in Heat 1, immediately in a terrible position for the start of Heat 2.
Wow, it was quite clear. And the common curse had has actually took its toll on us again, because Crash, we've just had a replay of that. There is Rosente. He goes down into P9 as Bisotto as well, trying to get through. Around here, all battling for the sanctions, and this is exactly what we want to see. We don't want them to crash. Yeah, we do the lot, but we do like to see good racing like this. But he's having a bad remember that. Can he try and stay ahead? It is Swatches to try aerial investment. Is the man leading this race. 17 in second, then Kuhavi in third, but we go back behind the variable. Yes, all trading, because this is lovely race so far, wheel to wheel, and keeping it on the that goes into the barrier. That is Ariel. That car is absolutely done for then, as he went straight into the barrier, and that is exactly what we were talking about. It's so easy to fall apart like this.
Yeah, and another incident of where the best driver from the last heat immediately out of the running in the next heat. Soriano and Chico crashed there. You can see that it started out as contact between those two cars, ended up taking out two more on their way off track. Valero was one of the victims there, but it looks to be holding it steady for the time being, coming up to P12 right now. Behind him is Tomas Simon. Also, just behind him, these drivers were in contention for podium finishes last heat. Now have to make their way to the front of the pack through a bunch of different cars. So it's going to be a bit of a struggle there. And luckily for them, they won't have to contend with Gustavo Ariel, who ended up getting taken out. So he's going to be in the pits for a while. Tim State there, in the best position he's been in all season long with that P6. Looks like he's actually trying to go for a pass. He makes it past Ralph Benitez there. Nice slipstream, 285 Ks down the start-finish straight as they're coming into turn one. Great slipstream from him. But Pablo Mercerat is hot on his heels. In fact, Ralph Benitez is letting a bunch of cars through. Fabio Docarmo is also one of them. Tim State still holding on to that P5 position. Ooh, losing control of the car a little bit. That might cost him a bit of speed, and Pablo Mercerat takes advantage of it almost immediately. Biasiotto not able to do that just yet. Fabio Docarmo lost the position to Ralph Benitez again, but you cannot knock Francesco Biasiotto here. He is also a pretty fast driver, and he will be looking to prove that in this particular heat. Connor Scudal in P4, Gaston Kuhavi in P3, Pedro D in P2, and Boris Ovando still holding on to that lead for now, but we're not really sure how long.
We're not to take P8, and that was a lovely dive downside to get that taken. Now he's got 8 towards the driver there. Biasotto now going through past Tim State. P6 he takes. Tim State drops back a bit there. The guy sets the script right now, which is lovely, and hopefully we can get more people wearing them in the next few years' time. But it is Como representing his State all battling ahead. Then P7 to 9, a lovely scrap down here into the great Biasotto. That's the way then. Tim State getting through fast. It's side by side trading positions. Who can get out ahead then? Down the inside. Enter gets the goes around the outside position.
Yeah, and I'm not particularly sure, but I think VR headsets might be a little bit of a disadvantage, especially in positions like this, because as you're more immersed in the actual experience, you start to be a little more risk averse. You don't want to take unnecessary risks because you're immersed. You don't want to be front. You don't want to be front and center for an accident that you're going to be a part of, especially when you're the one that's going to be shaking it around in the VR headset for a while. So maybe a little bit of a disadvantage, but regardless of that, Tim State still holding on to a pretty decent position for himself in P9 there. But Boris Ovando still holding on to that P1. Pedro D not far behind him. We have to see where Gal Valero is. Gal Valero and Tomas Simon haven't really been able to make any headway. They're still stuck in that P12 and P13 positions, just behind Diego Villarreal there. But Gal Valero is making up a bit of time, so we'll still have to see whether or not that pass will be able to happen.
Yeah, it's on the screen now. Vando, who is the moment out of 4, is a bit of action going on at the back as well. Villarreal B10 and Valero all involved. That one of the thing that's Lisbon, who's on the front again between Vando and Dean. Very, very close indeed. About 3 tenths, nearly 4 tenths, and I'm sure that a screen right now. We can see, of course, being focused and not losing any focus in this, because I mean everybody takes this incredibly, and it's definitely going off topic. But I think going back to your VR headset comment, Lee, I think it could be a disadvantage. I definitely agree. I think it also comes down to personal preferences in. You know, some people, like you mentioned, could be more laid back and ready. I think it could be that I'm just not really too bothered about it. You know what I mean? It's varies from person to person, but it can vary from disadvantage.
Yeah, I think we could probably get someone that actually used the VR headset to verify whether or not the experiences feels more dangerous for them or not.
Yeah.
But getting back on topic here, Pedro Dean going a bit wide there into turn 1, probably losing a little bit of time, but doesn't seem like it really has much of an effect on the gap between him and Boris Avando. And these two drivers definitely want to drive as best as they can to hold on to that podium spot, because they didn't have the best first heat. And story of the hour is a bunch of the drivers who didn't have great first heats are now looking to make a mark on the second heat. Meanwhile, the drivers that were absolutely demolishing heat 1 are now stuck in a position where they're struggling to make it past the grid. As I say that, Guy Valero actually jumped up 2 positions, made it up to P10. Tomas Simon still trailing just a little bit behind. He's currently stuck behind Diego Villarreal. But Guy Valero, he's got about 8 laps to make the magic happen, and if he wants to make it a double win for him for this particular race, it's got a lot of traffic to contend with. However, you have Tim State, you have Jackson Resende in front of him, Fabio Del Carmo in front of him, and none of them would want to be conceding positions.
So see green screen at the moment, and we can see maybe he can gain a bit of time, but it has quite a little. That might be a lost cause, but we still have to go. We are 50% race distance in this race, out of 14 now into the MX-5 race, and I mean these cars are nice deals. Very nice, and the sound of them as well. The sound is just too much. But down in P14, Pico, and I have Ariel and sorry, down in P16 and so with 7 more laps to try and find a bit of time. He's 1 lap down, so see whether sessions hasn't really been his race. Benitez lost well. Simon is now it's to Valero, but his man watched him State, who was trying to keep Galvero behind Frenchman. Can he try and get through past Tim State? We can see them both on the screen now. Really locked now. State's camera starts zooming in more. Valero absolutely pushing on as hard as he can. It's 2/10 of a second. Valero positions in this race. Can he get up anymore? He's aiming to get past the American Tim onto the main now. He's aiming and get in enough to get in. The next time he's right behind him now. Ooh, trying for that move down as well. It is Gal Valero trying very bad for him. Now got him on his back and in 9 and taking it. Quite Tim State can't do nothing about that one and has to settle for that position. Right P9, he is up 6 positions from his starting spot there, and P15 to Galvalero. Yeah, P9. I'm on about Galvalero. P9, sorry. Then Resente is up. Armo, which is too bad at all. Biasotto, 3 positions up. It is Mesodat 1-6, which is very, very nice to see. The thing we have on there at the moment is Charmo, P7, with 9 positions gained so far, and he's 8 behind the guy. He's beat the guy ahead of Biasotto.
Yeah, and Galvalero can take solace in the fact that out of the top 3 from the last heat, he's the furthest one in front right now. Thomas Simon is still stuck behind Tim State. Will be able to make a move eventually. We don't know when, but his biggest competition, Gustavo Ariel, is still in the pits. He's completely out of the race this time around, so he's going to be pretty comfortable with the overall win, I think, if Galvalero can make up a couple more positions. Still trying to catch up to Jackson Resende there. We are on board with Boris Ovando. Still holding on to that P1, and the gap between him and Pedro Dean hasn't really narrowed to a point where Pedro Dean can mount an attack. It was about 8 tenths a few laps ago. It's still hovering around 8 tenths right now. But the important thing is both of these drivers are holding off Gaston Kulhavi, and they're keeping him at pretty substantial arm's length away. Gaston Kulhavi about 4 seconds behind. Oh, I think Pedro D may have gone off into the grass a little bit there because he just scrubbed off a lot of speed, and immediately the gap extended from 8 tenths to 2.5 seconds nearly. Unfortunate position for Pedro D right now, but Boris Ovando load off his shoulders. He's going to be able to hold on to that position for just a little bit longer because the top drivers aren't really going to be facing him.
Dean had an out corner somewhere because he's up 5 positions, P2, but he has dropped a lot of time. So he was 8 temps, averaging 7 or 8 temps, and now it is right down to 2.5. So we've worked in about 4 laps time this P2 race. Dean has got to really focus and put his foot on the bed now and see it through. But the gap is getting bigger now, 2.7 seconds, 2.6, and it's just fluctuating between Ovando and Dean. We will go back to that in a few moments, and what we've got going around at the moment. And the cars not that close really, but we have got we've got Carmo and Biasotto who are quite close. Biasotto right behind Mercedes as well. Carmo 6 tenths behind Otto. We might have a lovely battle cooking up pretty soon if these guys can stay pretty close. Yeah, they're not really far. It's 10, 7, the best we've got going on around here so far. If we go back up to the top, the gap between Ovando and Dean is now 2.9. It's just a second away from him now, as Ovando is just focusing, probably at his car as well to know that the car behind him is bring back just a little bit. He's a bit safe, but a bit giving place there in this heat. But lap 10 out of 14. 4 to go. Yeah, and
we have to also pay attention to Resende because he is making up quite a bit of time on Fabio Del Carmo there. The gap was about 1.5 seconds earlier on. It's now down to less than a second. So yeah, as you said, the battle could be cooking up, but they don't have a lot of time left as they're coming up to lap 11 now. We've got about 3 laps remaining for all of these drivers. Boris Ovando still holding on to that position. Galvalero actually making a charge. Did set the fastest lap so far in this heat, but is still quite a ways behind these 3 drivers. So it looks like he's probably not in contention for the time being as we pay attention to the cars in front as well. Connor Scudal is actually catching up to Gaston Kulhavi. Maybe another battle might be happening there as we go on board. We're still on board with Fabio Del Carmo. Not too much action is going on between these 2 drivers for the time being, but again, anything can change within the span of 3 laps. Maybe someone makes a mistake. Maybe they give out to the pressure and immediately someone takes advantage of it. Absolutely. To be fair, like a little battle, and they are getting closer, but like there's not a lot of time left. But even if we don't get a battle cooking up, we have had our good fair share of racing today, and it's been very good for my very a bit anyway. So it is Simone who is 3 tenths behind Tim. He is right behind him, going on around
tenths and between two at the moment. He's 11. It's Simone and now Simone up 2 positions, down 5. So big difference between that at the moment, as we can see. Back up the top, and the between Vando and Dean is now 2.6, and that doesn't to be going up or down by a great deal. But as we go, Carmo, quite close still. So speaking of the battle cooking up, maybe it could happen pretty soon. I mean, going to try and move. No race. Haven't got too much close. We've got going on at the moment is Vente was down in the fortune, just there.
Yeah, and Tim State just needs to hold off Simone for just a little bit longer. He'll have his best finish in AMX so far. So great drive from him for the time being, of course, but there is a lot of pressure that comes when you have a really fast driver hot on their heels. Whether or not Tim State will be able to keep that pressure under control is completely up to him, but we are currently invested in this right now. Tomas Simon just looking for an opportunity to make it past him. Eventually he'll be able to. The gap is actually very, very narrow now, about 1/10 separating them. Tomas Simon, about 2.5 laps to go. He's still about 2 cars behind Gal Valero, same position he was in earlier in the first heat, just a different point of the grid. Right now, Gal Valero, 3-second gap was there between him and Resende, now shortened down to 1.8 seconds, so he is still definitely charging. As we're on board with Fabio Del Carmo right now, he's hot on the heels of Biasotto. Looks like he's going to make a pass into turn 1, does have the outside, but Biasotto breaks early. That means Fabio Del Carmo can just cut in front of him, take the inside line, and got out with a great exit and making that pass clean. But now Biasotto has to deal with Jackson Resende behind him. Was a battle lost, now might lose another one with Resende. Gap between them is much closer as well. I have to see Resende dares to make a move there. He's so close to them, but any form of contact will actually be catastrophic for both of these drivers. We're on the penultimate lap right now. Oh, Resende is going to probably cut this a little bit close, but it looks like he might be able to if he maintains this pace.
Yeah, just maybe. We're on the penultimate lap, and this is flew by. It really has. That was a bit quite close between these guys. Biasotto on the screen right now and showing very much concentration in pace like everybody has throughout evenings. Biasotto 6/10 behind P6 at the moment, and on the penultimate lap there's not really a lot could happen. Obviously the first 2 heats we had obviously were photo finishes, and they came quite close. We could maybe get in the pack as we on to the final lap of today's heat, and Gal Valero is 3/10 behind, and the time 4/10 behind Biasotto as well, and this is where everybody's starting to get a little bit close.
Yeah, and Gal Valero, he wants to make up a couple positions. He probably has a really good shot at being the overall winner for this particular race, and he wants to make that position quickly because he doesn't really have that much time left. Less than 90 seconds before the end of the lap. He's already pretty much halfway through the track. Oh, maybe he'll take advantage of the fact that Resende and Biasotto are currently battling right now. You can see how close he is cutting the margins of these corners to get as much speed as he can on the exit. He's still trailing hot on the heels of Resende right now. We're going to be on board with him all the way until the end. As we go over to the front, we can see Boris Ovando is actually very comfortable. P1 start to finish. Fending off Pedro Dean, hasn't been able to make any headway since the beginning of the race. So Biasotto here now has to fend off 2 drivers instead of just 1. And we're on board with Boris Ovando right now. He is about to cross the start-finish line. The checkered flag waves down, and he is already celebrating. Great drive from him, start to finish, no competition at all. Pedro Dean finishing in P2. Gaston Kulhavi just slightly behind him, will be crossing the line in P3 with Conor Scudal in P4. Pablo Monserrat crossing the line as well. And Fabio Del Carmo, Biasotto, Resende, and Valero still in the positions that they started out in. Unfortunately, Valero wasn't able to mount an attack as he had hoped, but he's still going to be taking solace in the fact that his 2 closest competitors this race, Thomas Simon and Gustavo Ariel, are behind him, which means that he probably has a good chance of walking away with an overall race win. Meanwhile, Tim stayed there. He's got the best finish of his AMX career so far, that P10, fending off Thomas Simon all the way to the end. And great drive from him as well. We look forward to seeing how much he continues to grow throughout this championship. And we'll be bringing up the standings in just a bit. There we go on the screen right now. Boris Ovando, clean drive all the way from start to finish in P1. Pedro Dean, Gaston Kulhavi in P3. Connor Scudal P4. Pablo Monserrat in P5. Fabio De Carmo in P6. Francesco Biasotto in 7. Jackson Resende P8. Gal Valero P9. Tim State P10. Thomas Simon 11. Diego Villarreal in P12. Ralph Benitez in 13th. With Montechico in P14. Gustavo Ariel and Tobias Soriano unfortunately out of the race with a DNF. They'll still make up 15 and 16th on the grid, however. Fastest lap holding to Gal Valero, no surprises there. He is one of the great drivers that we have. We might even bring him over into the interview room if he's willing. Talk about some of that race wins he had for that particular heat. But yeah, what a way to wrap up AMX-5 today. We had amazing races in race 5 and now race 6 as well. A little less intense, but still very, very clean and very close racing. Whew! Whoa. Well, I'm tuckered out. I've pretty much used up all my energy tonight, and I guess maybe the same can be said for you. It is looking like it's quite dark in your place now.
Yeah, it's getting a bit darker. I probably need to start turning some lights on now. I mean, what a debut that was, if you can hear me all right. Yeah, what a debut that was. I mean, the first two were absolutely brilliant. And then, of course, going into the second two heats, they weren't so bad. Still, you don't get me wrong, the first two heats, they were very exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And we're probably going to get ready for an interview soon, but we are going to deal with the race results right now. I wanted to get your thoughts on how it felt during your AMX debut for the very first time this season. I mean, technical difficulties aside, how was the experience for you?
I mean, I'm going to be honest with you. I absolutely and I loved it. Of course, like you said, technical difficulties aside, if I could sort them out, I mean, I definitely a lot more. Other people would as well. Yeah, no, that was really good. And to what I've come with doing my commentary, this is a lot harder, so much better, and it's so much nicer to do commentary on. So I feel like I can really get potential and how talented everybody is, really.
All right, no, that's good to hear. I mean, we're looking forward to having you on even more broadcasts in the future, and hopefully you get everything sorted out as well. It'd be great to be able to commentate with you yet again. We don't particularly know when we'll be on the next time around, but until then, I guess we can just enjoy the races. And but before we wrap up the show for tonight, we're going to cut over to some interviews with some drivers, so be right back. Boris, can you hear me?
I can, yep.
All right, okay, so, I mean, pretty convincing race win over in Heat 2, but unfortunately, it was marked with some issues during Heat 1. Talk us through how you managed to reset your mental, what was going through your mind in between the heats.
Well, the first thing was just kicking myself for that awful start where I hit the wall. And I knew I could fight for a top 5 in the first heat, but when you damage your car on the first lap, not much you can do there. So I just had to prepare for the next heat and see how the car was going to behave towards the end, and luckily I was able to manage it.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great run from you. I think you pretty much had no competition throughout the entire time. We're basically just talking about, especially since we're at the very start of the season right now, I just want to talk you through about what you feel about the season so far and where you think you'll be able to go as we're approaching the end of the season?
Well, I'm probably not gonna. I'm gonna be traveling a little bit, so I'm not gonna be doing all the sessions, and I don't have all the cars, so probably GT4 I won't be participating. I'll try to do some GT3, some Porsche Cup, and some prototype, and some of these Formula races that I have the cars for, and I'm not traveling. So it's just gonna be a one-offs where I feel like I'm prepared enough to do the race.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine because, of course, you can just sign up whenever you want, right? And any race is pretty much, you can just decide to drop in or drop out. What else was I going to ask? I'm sorry, my mind is a bit addled right now.
Nah, no worries, no worries.
Yeah, and talk us through, I mean, the car itself. Are you particularly familiar with the car? Do you have a lot of experience on it? Or are you more used to a different class of car?
I mostly drive just GT3s and prototypes. I've driven this car a little bit last season. I did maybe 10 or so races. So I know how it works. I know how the push to pass works. And I think the push to pass is a big deal here. With Pedro, we're trading off every other lap. Just that's how it worked out because I used my push to pass first. And so then we were just kind of alternating. So he would close up the gap and then I would extend the gap the following lap with push to pass. And so it's all about just maintaining that enough of a gap where I would be able to just build it back up again with my push to pass. I got really close that one lap where he got within like 4/10, and I thought, man, now we're gonna battle. But luckily he made a mistake, and I was able to extend the gap again.
Yeah, I think we also got that mistake a little bit on camera, but we won't dwell on it. Okay, so for your race win, is there anyone that you want to give shout outs to or anyone you want to thank?
Oh, definitely. I want to thank my team, Solpec Precision Racing. Some big things coming from them. We just signed that new sponsor, Solpec, in a big partnership, and just the team is growing a lot, and I always have a lot of support from them, so I always appreciate it, and just a big thank you to them.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Boris. Congratulations again on your Heat 2 win. And I hope to see you in more AMX races, of course. Whichever ones you decide to join, I think we'll be looking forward to your performances in all of them.
Oh, you definitely will. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Take care. I'm glad to get his thoughts on the car, the race results, especially with the start of the season. I think as we're going through the seasons, the guys will get even more settled in. We'll have a better handle on how everyone drives and how do you want to adapt towards that, especially the cars that we'll be driving. Because, guys, we have a long season ahead of us, of course, and we hope to see you stick around for as long as you can. Jack here, of course, you hopefully will see him in more broadcasts afterwards. And if you want to check our socials down there, we have Instagram, Twitch, X, formerly known as Twitter, Discord, YouTube, our website, amxrace.com, and short form content on TikTok. If you want to join the Discord, it's an open invite. You guys can just drop in whenever you guys want, talk with the drivers, talk with the racers, maybe share some car racing related content if you're willing for it. But until tomorrow, we will be signing off. We'll be wrapping up. Unfortunately, we won't be able to bring you the results for tonight, but we'll definitely be looking forward to bringing you even more exciting racing tomorrow. So, on behalf of myself, on behalf of Jack here, and actually, before we end up, maybe you want to say a few more words before we wrap up?
I just want to say I've really enjoyed this, and hopefully you guys for today. Nice to see if I can come back in the near future. Lovely, everybody. Yeah, that's all from me.
All right, thank you again. Okay, so coming back on behalf of me, on behalf of Jack here, and on behalf of the AMX production team, I'd like to say goodnight and see you tomorrow for AMX 0 and AMX 20. It'll be fun. See ya.